So my usual Tuesday vlog before we open it out to the Tuesday Talk, the live WoW discussion, 7 PM UK time. I thought I'd talk about the fact that there's no more Legendaries in the next expansion. So this came as a bit of a shock for me, especially because Legendaries, of course, we were talking about this. We've been talking about this on our channel for a while now. I mean, there's three real bones of contention about Legion from a Raider's point of view, especially. You know, and I think some other population as well. The Titan Forging is just purely about Mythic Raiders. I've already talked about that. It's Mythic Raiders that don't really like Titan Forging. Everyone else is quite cool about it. The Artifact Power Grind, you know, again, for Raiders in general, I think this is a bit more of a problem. But the Legendaries, I think, has irked everyone. The people who were doing lots and lots of content and getting Legendaries quickly, well, if they weren't getting the right Legendaries, they were being screwed over because they play at such a level that was a big problem. The people who don't do so much content were having huge gaps between getting Legendaries. And again, if they didn't get the good Legendaries, that was a huge hassle as well. And so it was just a hassle for everyone, and it looks like they've abandoned them completely. And I didn't think they would do that. I knew that the Legendary system was bad in Legion, and I knew that no one would really like it. And I thought that the best that we could expect in the next expansion was that they tweak it a little bit, but the things they were talking about as identifying the problems with the Legendary system sounded like they might actually make it worse, and I thought people, you know, might not really stand for that. I thought there was a lot of attachment to Legendaries in the game, and I think I was wrong on that one. I have to say I think I was wrong. So they've basically tried, I think, everything that they can think of to put Legendaries in the game. Legendaries started off, little potted history, as being super rare random drops from raids. I mean, to begin with, it wasn't even as simple as that. You had Thunder Fury, which required you to get 2 super rare drops to be able to combine them together and do the quest line to get that one. I mean, I remember in our guild we got one of the pieces, and then it was many months before we got another. And fortunately, when we did get another, it was the opposite side, because it had to be the 2 halves of it, not just 2 random pieces. The Legendary, which I never saw drop off Ragnaros, had to be combined with a crafted item. I mean, that wasn't too bad. You just needed someone with the rep to be able to craft it, as well as some materials that only drop from the raid bosses as well. So it wasn't as simple as getting a Legendary drop. And of course, what it meant was only a very small number of people ever got these Legendaries. So of course, it wouldn't work in today's system where it would be just too unbalanced. Some people, a very small number of people, would be getting something that was super, super powerful. Wasn't as big a deal then. I'm sure there was still a fair amount of envy for people that had them. But it wasn't seen as such a big deal. But it would be today. It would be today. Then in Naxxramas, I suppose they tried a model that they've also used since, which is where you're sort of going to get it at some point. You have to collect pieces from raid bosses, you know, the splinters of Atish that drop from raid bosses in Naxxramas, and then there were other things to do as well, which included killing Cthulhu as well as Kel'Thuzad. And it meant that after a certain amount of time, RNG being as it was, you'd probably have enough to get one. And if you were really good, if you're really highly progressed guild, maybe you'd belt another one out as well before TBC came around. But you would very likely have one. But then again, then what you had to do was choose who got it. But you had to choose the same thing with the other Legendaries as well. So, you know, getting that decision right was quite important as well. Then in TBC, much the same model. I mean, Warglaives was the main one. There was a Legendary that dropped from the final boss to kill Jaden, but dropped so far towards the end for most people, it was almost worthless getting it. And in fact, I think, you know, some hunters have told me it wasn't even all that great anyway compared to another one you could get from an epic one that you could get from the same instance. But the Warglaives was definitely highly designed. Again, another one where you needed 2 bits for the Legendary effect, really. So you had to get 2 of those. Now, in the guild I was in, we ended up getting loads. It was fine. But in a lot of guilds, it was not the case. And again, it's one of these things, really small chance to drop. Doesn't work in today's system. So they went much more in Wrath for the Legendaries, which, you know, you are going to get over time. Get stuff from raid bosses, pick stuff up there. And that's how it merrily rolled along into Cataclysm and so on. Then in Mists of Pandaria, they changed it up. They said, look, you know, we're going to... It went you know, very much more towards the casual side of it. We're going to give everyone a legendary. It's going to take a certain amount of time to get it. You're still going to have to do raids, but it can be raids on any mode. It doesn't have to be the hardest mode. And everyone will get these legendaries at roughly the same time. People doing it in LFR will have to wait a bit longer because LFR doesn't come out at the same time as the other raids. They'll be a little bit behind, but only a little bit behind, and they'll still get it in with the same quality as everyone else's. They carry that on into Warlords of Draenor, exactly the same system, and I think they just decided it wasn't quite special enough. So then they went the Diablo route and just legendaries, loads and loads of legendaries, just threw them at us. And I was actually joking when it finally dawned on me that we're definitely not getting legendaries. And also that there wasn't this huge outcry, because I thought people would be very, very attached to the concept of legendaries, not the legendary system in Legion, but the concept of legendaries. Because I never really, when we're discussing this, heard anyone sort of saying comments on my videos or to me directly when we're doing our live discussions, do you know what, they should just not do legendaries. I thought to myself, and I've said that I'm quite sure that the current developers, because the current developers, the senior ones, were not actually developers at the start of WoW when these decisions were first made. They were players of the game. And I thought to myself, do you know what, I bet they wish it had never been in the game. I bet they rue the day someone decided to put them in the game. And obviously that opinion has been given some verisimilitude by the fact that they've got rid of them. But there hasn't been an outcry. Is it that legendaries have become such a byword for toxicity that people are just pleased to see the current system gone, even if it means not replacing it with a different version? Are people accepting, for example, that there probably is no good way to get legendaries in the system that satisfies everyone? I think so. I think that's actually what happened. In fact, I was actually joking that maybe it was a cunning plan of theirs from the start. You know, I think Legends in Legion, because the problem is they were so obviously a bad system, I think one of two things probably happened. I think I was joking and maybe saying that Blizzard did it deliberately to get people so turned off them that they wouldn't care if legendaries were just completely dropped. Because another feature that we know the developers would like to drop, they tried it, didn't happen, was flying. We have this compromise now where flying, you can get it 9 months, 10 months into the expansion, something like that. But they wanted to get rid of it altogether. In WoD, they said there's not going to be any more flying. Huge backlash. So maybe this was another thing where they thought, we'll be a bit cunning. We'll just make a really bad system, and then people won't care that it's gone forever. Either that, or they really didn't like any of the previous systems that had gone before it. They didn't think any of them were fit for purpose. Fair enough. And they thought, this is the last roll of the die. You know, this is it. We can't think of anything else for legendaries. This is what we're going to do. And if it doesn't work, we're just going to drop the whole thing, which is what's happened. So it'd be interesting to know. I suspect we'll never really know. But yeah, so there's no more legendaries. Now, people, they were very keen to explain that the armor stuff that's attached to the Heart of Azeroth is not a substitute for it. And I can see that it's not, actually. I think it's fair enough. That doesn't seem to me to be a legendary system at all. So I'm happy with what we've known so far. We don't know huge details about all the systems coming in the next expansion, but I am happy with what I've heard, that there isn't even a substitute for legendary. There isn't another thing that's going to be the same. We are definitely not getting this huge world RNG, massively powerful items. We're not going to be reliant on that. And it also gives me some hope that tied to it, because legendaries was one dangled reward for doing the lots and lots of content. It wasn't the only one. AP was another one. And it gives me some hope that they'll also recognise that maybe they overdid the coercion to grind a little bit too much, and that it's turned a lot of people off. So that would be quite useful as well. But I, for one, am glad I mean, I've never really liked any legendary system. I actually thought, ironically, that the MOP and the WoD one was the best, simply because it was the fairest. It didn't make it special, that's true. But the problem is special snowflakes can't really exist now in the game, because, again, it's not fair. It's fundamentally not fair. Because it's got nothing to do with how much effort you put in. And when you can get a legendary in a tier that drops legendaries, and maybe on average one person per guild will get it, that's not really a reward, is it? Because you've got to give it to someone, and you can't. It's not like saying, well, that person works harder than everyone else. You know, that may not be true. That may not be true. So anyway, I'm quite pleased it's gone. I strongly suspect, and I'm pretty sure the developers will be glad it's gone. I'm very pleased, and I'm sure the developers are as well, that the community doesn't seem bothered by the fact that they're going as well, because it was a cherished part of the game for a lot of people, not necessarily everyone. This might be a really happy ending for a system that has not been appreciated and has gone. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget the Tuesday Talk, which, as I put this out, is going to be in a few hours, but it's always 7 PM UK time every Tuesday. Join me on my Twitch channel. You can discuss anything you like. You've got a topic you want to discuss, you just throw it in the chat there, and we'll talk about that. Usually lasts a couple of hours, sometimes goes up to about 2.5 hours. So thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to watch tonight. Bye-bye.